The world was stunned by the sudden passing of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a beloved actor best known as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. But just as fans began mourning, longtime friend and comedian Eddie Griffin released an emotional, cryptic video that left people shaken and asking tough questions. With trembling words and a heavy heart, Eddie didn't just grieve, he hinted at something much deeper, something unsaid. "My heart is heavy and so is the truth," he confessed, sparking a storm of speculation. Was Malcolm battling something darker behind the scenes? Was there more to his death than we've been told? Eddie's message wasn't just a tribute, it was a warning. And now, fans everywhere are searching for the truth behind the silence. Eddie Griffin's raw and unfiltered tribute. Eddie Griffin's message was unlike any typical public mourning statement. Rather than posting a polished tribute or a simple condolence, Eddie chose a raw, unfiltered video that resonated with palpable emotion. Shot in a dimly lit room, with no music or filters to soften his words, Eddie's trembling voice betrayed the depth of his pain and the complexity of what he was trying to express. "My heart is heavy," Eddie said quietly, his voice cracking with emotion. "And so is the truth." This wasn't just about sadness. It was about a burden, a weight carried silently for too long. He spoke about brothers dying with secrets, about the suffocating silence that Hollywood often forces on its stars, and about the invisible struggles that go unnoticed until it's too late. "Sometimes people don't die from illness," he said. "They die from the pressure of pretending everything is fine." These words struck a nerve. To many, they hinted at hidden battles, perhaps struggles with mental health, industry pressures, or personal pain that Malcolm had kept under wraps. Eddie's cryptic message was more than grief. It was a call to look closer, to question the polished narratives often presented by celebrities and the entertainment machine. Remembering Malcolm-Jamal Warner, more than just Theo Huxtable. To fully understand the impact of this loss and the significance of Eddie's words, we need to look beyond Malcolm's most famous role. Yes, he was Theo Huxtable, the witty, grounded, and incredibly relatable son on The Cosby Show. A show that redefined how black families were portrayed on television in the 1980s and 90s. Theo was the teenager everyone rooted for, the son whose ups and downs mirrored real life. And Malcolm's performance was a key reason the character felt so genuine. But Malcolm-Jamal Warner was much more than that iconic character. After The Cosby Show ended, he carved out a diverse career as an actor, producer, voice artist, and advocate. He was deeply involved in projects that highlighted African-American stories and culture, including jazz poetry and spoken word performances, which revealed his artistic depth and passion for storytelling beyond mainstream television. In recent years, Malcolm had been working on a documentary exploring the legacy of African-American sitcoms, a project that was close to his heart. This wasn't just a job for him, it was a mission to shine light on the history, struggles, and triumphs of black artists in Hollywood. The fact that this work was left incomplete adds a layer of sadness, as if his creative journey was suddenly cut short. The mysterious circumstances surrounding his passing. Initial reports described Malcolm's death as sudden and unexpected. Authorities found him unresponsive in his Los Angeles home, and while there was no suspicion of foul play, the circumstances were described as unusual but non-criminal. The coroner's office withheld the official cause of death, pending toxicology results that only added to the speculation swirling online. Many wondered, how could someone so vibrant, so seemingly full of life, simply vanish? Early rumors suggested a cardiac arrest, but those were quickly called into question by the lack of official confirmation and the secretive tone from authorities. Adding to the mystery was Malcolm's recent behavior. In the weeks before his death, he had withdrawn from the public eye more than usual, canceling podcast appearances and delaying interviews that were expected to highlight his latest work and advocacy. Those close to him noticed a change, something subtle but undeniable. He seemed drained, tired not just physically but emotionally, as if carrying a heavy burden that he chose not to share. Signs of silent struggles. A closer look. Friends and collaborators who spoke to the media revealed glimpses into Malcolm's state of mind. One co-producer, who wished to remain anonymous, described him as tired and drained, but it felt like his soul was carrying something much heavier. Malcolm was said to be processing a lot, but never opened up about what exactly he was going through. 5 days before his death, Malcolm posted a black-and-white photo of a tree on social media, captioned, "Some branches break under pressure. Not all roots get to heal." At the time, many fans viewed it as poetic, a typical artistic expression. But looking back, it feels like a silent cry for help, a metaphor for the pain and strain he was experiencing, but unable or unwilling to voice directly. Even more concerning was his sudden disappearance in mid-July. For several days, Malcolm was completely off the grid. No phone calls, no messages, no activity on his company's cloud servers. This was so uncharacteristic that friends grew worried. A close friend said, "He always showed up, always delivered." To go silent like that? Something was wrong. This silence, as Eddie Griffin later reflected, was deafening. The hidden pressures of Hollywood and mental health. Eddie Griffin's words also hint at a larger systemic issue: the immense pressure that Hollywood exerts on its stars, especially black actors who have historically faced exploitation, marginalization, and unrealistic expectations. Malcolm was no stranger to this world. Having grown up in the public eye, he understood the cost of fame, the toll it takes on mental health, and the double-edged sword of being a black man in an industry that often profits from both visibility and silence. In recent years, Malcolm had become an outspoken advocate for mental health in the black community. He spoke openly at panels about the trauma child actors endure, the mental health stigma that persists, and the exhausting need to maintain an image of strength when battling inner demons. When Eddie said, "Sometimes the weight of what you can't say is heavier than what you carry, and sometimes that silence kills," he was not only mourning his friend, but issuing a powerful indictment of a culture that often forces people like Malcolm to hide their struggles. The aftermath and a call for awareness. Following his initial video, Eddie Griffin posted a second message that encapsulated the urgent plea behind his grief. Protect your peace. Check on your strong friends. Silence can be the loudest cry for help. It was a reminder that those who appear strongest often bear the heaviest burdens in silence. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death is a heartbreaking loss on many levels. The loss of a beloved actor, an artist, a friend, and an advocate. But it's also a stark reminder of the unseen battles many face, especially in industries where vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness. Eddie Griffin's message: more than mourning, a warning. When Eddie Griffin shared his heartfelt video following Malcolm-Jamal Warner's sudden passing, it resonated deeply, not only as a tribute, but as a grave warning. For those who had witnessed Malcolm's transformation over the years, from the vibrant, effervescent Theo Huxtable to a more guarded and private figure, Eddie's words cut straight to the heart of a truth many had sensed but couldn't quite articulate. Eddie didn't merely express sorrow. He spoke of a heaviness in his heart and in the truth itself. He warned of the invisible pain behind fame, the silent suffering that success and recognition often fail to shield. His message conveyed a crucial insight. Those who appear most composed, most in control, may be silently carrying the heaviest burdens. This was not Eddie's first time exposing the shadows lurking in Hollywood's bright lights. Known for his fearless critique of the entertainment industry's hypocrisies, from mental health cover-ups to systemic exploitation, Eddie's choice to speak in metaphors and veiled language signaled that there was much more beneath the surface. The phrase, "my heart is heavy and so is the truth," wasn't mere poetic grief. It felt like a deliberate message, possibly meant to protect, expose, or even warn. Many fans now wonder if Malcolm confided in Eddie before his death, if there was something between them that Eddie felt bound not to reveal just yet. Could Eddie's words be the beginning of a reckoning, an unveiling of the darker realities behind Hollywood's polished exterior? The Legacy of a Bond, Phylicia Rashad's heartfelt tribute. The ripples of Malcolm's passing reached far beyond fans and social media. Those who had known him personally felt a profound loss that transcended public mourning. Among the first to speak was Phylicia Rashad, who portrayed his on-screen mother, the iconic Claire Huxtable, on The Cosby Show. Their relationship on-screen was legendary, rich with warmth, sharp wit, and deep emotional layers. But this connection wasn't confined to cameras. Off-screen, Phylicia was a mentor, a confidant, and in many ways, a second mother to Malcolm during his formative years navigating the complexities of Hollywood fame. Her public tribute was a moment of shared grief that left millions of fans in tears. Posting a black-and-white photo of her embracing a young Malcolm on set, Phylicia's caption read with heartfelt poignancy, "From boy to man, you carried the light. You asked the questions others were afraid to ask. You cared, you challenged, and you loved us deeply, even in your silence. My heart aches, but I know your spirit is at peace." Fans responded instantly, flooding the post with tears, broken hearts, and fond memories of the Huxtable family dynamic that had become a symbol of black family representation on television. Voices from The Cosby Show, a collective grief. Phylicia's tribute opened the floodgates for other Cosby Show cast members, each offering pieces to a larger, heartbreaking puzzle. Keshia Knight Pulliam, who played little Rudy Huxtable, expressed her pain simply. "We lost our big brother. I don't have the words. I just hope he knew how much we loved him, even when he went quiet." Sabrina LaBeouf, who portrayed Sandra, shared an image of a flickering candle with the poignant caption, "Sometimes the brightest souls flicker the fastest." Jeffrey Owens, recently in the spotlight for personal reasons but a longtime close friend of Malcolm, wrote, "This one hurts. Malcolm was one of the most grounded, intelligent, and honest people I've ever known. His silence was his strength but also his prison. These are more than mere eulogies. They form a pattern observed by those who loved Malcolm intimately. They noticed him withdrawing, becoming quieter, carrying a shift within himself that no one quite knew how to reach. The portrait that emerges is one of a man possibly wrestling with depression, burnout, or other hidden struggles, conditions often invisible to the outside world, especially in those who seem outwardly strong and composed. The unseen battle, what are we missing? As tributes poured in from across the entertainment world, including from stars like Tracee Ellis Ross, Lorenz Tate, and even statements from Bill Cosby's estate, a recurring theme echoed. Malcolm gave so much to others. But did he save anything for himself? This question, quietly asked in every condolence and comment, underscores the painful reality of many gifted artists. Those who pour their souls into their work and the people around them, often at the expense of their own well-being. Behind the laughter and light of his on-screen persona was a man who loved deeply, thought profoundly, and perhaps suffered deeply in ways few understood or saw. This duality is what makes Eddie Griffin's cryptic comments resonate so strongly. They have sparked a broader conversation about mental health, male vulnerability, and the relentless pressures of fame in an industry that rarely allows for true rest or openness. The growing wave of questions and unease. As the initial shock of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death begins to settle, a growing tide of questions and unease has emerged. What started as a tragic farewell is now morphing into a complex mystery that fans, friends, and observers can't ignore. Something about Malcolm's passing feels incomplete. There are too many unanswered questions, too many silences that don't feel natural. For some, the signs point to a man grappling with hidden battles, perhaps mental health issues, chronic illness, or the crushing weight of public life. But for others, especially those who follow fan forums, Reddit threads, and social media discussions closely, the theories grow darker and more complex. Theory 1. Private health battles. One of the more widely discussed theories is that Malcolm had been quietly fighting a serious illness, cancer, heart disease, or another condition, and chose to keep it private. Fans cite his noticeably thinner appearance in recent interviews and the absence of public photographs over the past 6 months as clues supporting this. His private, composed nature made it plausible that he wouldn't want to burden others with his struggles. If true, this theory helps explain the canceled appearances and the emotional weight hinted at by Eddie Griffin. However, it also raises a perplexing question. If illness was the cause, why withhold the official cause of death? Why the vague, pending toxicology reports? And why are close friends and collaborators so circumspect in their comments? Theory 2. Contractual silence and industry secrets. More controversial and unsettling is the theory that Malcolm's passing is entwined with industry secrets or contractual gag orders. Some fans speculate that he was working on a project, possibly the documentary on child stars, exploitation, and abuse in Hollywood, that could have exposed powerful figures or systemic wrongdoing. One viral TikTok post claimed that this documentary was under development through a private LLC linked to Warner's team and suggested that the footage might now disappear. This theory draws heavily from Eddie Griffin's remarks, particularly the line, "Sometimes the truth gets buried with the person brave enough to tell it." If this theory holds any truth, Malcolm's death might not be the end, but the beginning of a reckoning, a painful exposure of dark corners in Hollywood. Yet, without concrete evidence, this remains speculation, albeit fueled by the industry's well-documented history of silencing uncomfortable truths. Theory 3. The isolation and pressure of Hollywood fame. Perhaps the most emotionally grounded theory is that Malcolm, like many child actors who grew into adult roles, was deeply isolated. Despite his success, he was often pigeonholed as Theo Huxtable, unable to fully escape the shadow of his early fame. This typecasting, combined with the intense pressure of the spotlight and the stigma against vulnerability, especially for black men, may have led to severe depression or burnout. Fans in online communities have expressed that Malcolm might have been silently suffering, his struggles masked by strength. One poignant YouTube comment put it simply, "We always assume strong people are okay, but maybe Malcolm was screaming for help in a language we never learned to listen to." Media silence, raising eyebrows and fueling speculation. Compounding the unease is the mainstream media's relative silence. Aside from brief statements and recycled biographies, there has been little in the way of investigative reporting, exposés, or probing interviews. For a figure as influential as Malcolm-Jamal Warner, someone who shaped black television, culture, and education, this quietness feels suspicious. While some attribute this to respect for the family, many fans reject this explanation, especially when comparing the intense media coverage following the deaths of celebrities like Chadwick Boseman or Kobe Bryant. The lack of transparency has sparked a grassroots movement on social media, where the hashtag #JusticeForMalcolm began trending, not as a call for criminal investigation, but as a plea for clarity, honesty, and emotional truth. A call to listen and protect. Ultimately, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, Eddie Griffin's cryptic messages, and the ensuing reactions from loved ones and fans have brought to light a vital conversation about mental health, industry pressure, and the human cost of fame. In a world often obscured by carefully crafted images and silence, Malcolm stood out for his authenticity, and perhaps that made him more vulnerable. His story is now a solemn reminder. Behind every public persona is a person, often battling unseen demons. Eddie's plea to protect your peace, check on your strong friends, is a call to action that transcends celebrity. It is a message for all of us to pay attention, to listen deeply, and to support those who might be quietly struggling. Your one click can help us keep creating awesome stuff.